Power paddles have been flooding the market, so I think right now is the perfect time to test and see which are the best power paddles currently available on the market. Now, before going too far, the power and pop tests were only subjective. I hit the ball with drives, punch volleys, and blocks and determined which of these paddles I felt had the most power as well as the most pop. I did not use a radar gun. I personally don't like using radar guns. I think there's a lot of room for error, which leads them to be not super accurate. Because of this, it's just my subjective opinion, so please take that with a grain of salt. Now in this power paddle comparison, I had 9 paddles going head to head. The Ronbus Ripple V2 R4, the 11624 Hirachi X Power, the Paddletech Bantam TKO CX 14.3mm, the Joola Pro 4 Perseus 14mm, the C45 14mm Dynasty from Franklin, the Body Helix Flick TerraCore XC, the Holbrook Arma T, the Selkirk Era Elongated, and the Honolulu Pickleball J2NF. After testing the power output on drives, I determined the following order for each paddle. After testing pop, the results are as follows. Now, all of these paddles, even though from first place to 9th place, are power paddles and do have generous amounts of power. The difference is the first place, second place have a tremendous amount of power output, whereas the bottom half have just a good amount of power output. Same goes with the pop. In conclusion, all of these paddles will be highly reactive, highly aggressive paddles. Now, I think everybody can agree that there is much more to a paddle's performance that makes it great than just its power and pop levels. Because of this, I'm going to give you, of these 9 paddles, my 5 favorite and what I think are the best power paddles available right now. I wanted to add, if you are just looking for a power paddle and you are not concerned with having the most power and the most pop, and you want something that's going to perform great, I think you can just stop right now and purchase the 11624 Hirachi X Power Series, because it is only $160 after code pursuit and is by far the cheapest option on the list. Coming in at number 5 on my list for best power paddles is the Ronbus Ripple V2 R4 shape. Coming in at $260 after promo code pursuit, it is definitely on the higher end of price. This paddle does have a great amount of power and pop. Coming in at number 2 for power and number 5 for pop, it is a very aggressive paddle. It will have a very unpredictable logarithmic power profile, which means as you add more power and more force to the ball, you'll see a big jump in power. This unpredictable power curve is paired with a tinnier feel. It's not the best feeling paddle on this list. I would say it's actually one of the worst, but it's not something that's going to be a deal breaker. If you're someone who's just very sensitive to how a paddle feels, this might be something that you may want to avoid. Now, even though it does have a less than ideal tinny feel, it does have great dwell time, which gives it the ability to have great shot shaping ability. It's not top tier like the Carbon True Foam series or the J2NF paddles, but it's good enough for the power output that it currently has. This Ronbus Ripple R4 is going to be middle of the road in terms of stability and forgiveness, has a decent sweet spot, is going to be heavier than most other hybrid shape paddles, but does have a nice 5.6 inch handle with plenty of room for a two-handed backhand. If you're someone who lives and dies by the drives, I think you will enjoy the Ronbus Ripple V2s. Coming in at number 4 on the list is the Franklin C45 Dynasty 14mm paddle. This paddle is $207 after code pursuit and came in at number 7 for power, but number 4 for pop. Why I think a lower scoring power paddle is one of the best on the list is because it has a very predictable, almost linear power profile. This C45 has a very unique, crisp feel paired with tons of dwell. Because of this, you do have a good amount of shot shaping ability. Although it's not the highest spinning paddle on the market, it is very sufficient. This paddle does have one of the best elongated shapes because it is slightly shorter but slightly wider than your traditional elongated shapes that most other paddles utilize. Because of this, it will have a large sweet spot for an elongated shape paddle and is very easy to apply perimeter weighting to make it a more forgiving and stable paddle. This C45 14mm Dynasty is also fairly maneuverable for an elongated shape paddle if you're someone who likes a quicker paddle. This C45 Dynasty 14mm is great for someone who's looking for a well-balanced elongated shape paddle that performs well from the baseline all the way to the kitchen line. Coming in at number 3 is the Body Helix Flick TerraCore XC. This paddle will be $190 before discount code Pursuit and will be available July 15th. This paddle scored number 1 for pop and number 3 for power, which makes it easily one of the most aggressive paddles, if not the most aggressive paddle that I have ever tested. This TerraCore XC is an elongated shaped paddle with a shorter 5.3 inch handle, which isn't the most ideal for two-handed backhands, but does allow for enough room to get away with it. It also has extremely good spin, a very large sweet spot, but it's not the most stable paddle. However, it is very maneuverable, has a lower swing weight, which will allow you to add perimeter weight to shore up that stability. This Flick TerraCore XC is going to be great for someone who's looking for an elongated shape paddle that has excellent spin, is fairly maneuverable, and has elite firepower. Coming in at number 2 on the list is the Joola Pro 4 Perseus 14mm. This paddle is $280 with no discount code. However, if you use the link in the description to purchase, it does help support this channel and is greatly appreciated. This paddle scored number 1 for power and number 2 overall for pop, which in my opinion makes it probably the most offensive capable paddle on the market right now. If firepower is your only concern, I would say this or the Body Helix are definitely the paddles to choose. However, there are a few downfalls of this paddle that make it not be number 1 on the list. The first is it has a fairly inconsistent feel across the face. The top half is extremely hot, extremely powerful, and feels great. However, as soon as you hit a little bit lower on the face, just above the top third tip, you start to see a tremendous fall off in both power as well as forgiveness. These Perseus paddles also have below average stability, which makes them not super ideal for anybody who is 4'5" or under. The power profile of this paddle is logarithmic, which means that the more power you put into the paddle, the higher the jumps in power output you see. If you're someone who loves that logarithmic or Gen 3 style power curve and wants elite firepower, this is going to be the best option for you. And coming in at number 1 is the Honolulu Pickleball J2NF paddle. This paddle is $171 after promo code Pursuit and is currently on pre-order right now. The J2NF scored number 4 overall for power and number 3 overall for pop. Now, this paddle is virtually a flawless paddle apart from one thing. It has a very wide neck taper, which doesn't give you a ton of room for a two-handed backhand. Apart from the handle length as well as the neck taper, this paddle is pretty much flawless. It has elite stability and forgiveness, one of the largest sweet spots I've ever tested, incredible spin and shot shaping ability, and also has a very nice linear power profile, which means that you get the power output that you expect with the power that you are putting into this paddle. In my personal opinion, I think this is the most well-rounded paddle currently on the market from top to bottom. This paddle is going to be best for players who are looking for a very well-rounded paddle and do not want the most power or the most pop. If you're looking for something that is very aggressive while remaining relatively easy to control for anybody who's 3'5" and above, I think the J2NF is easily the best power paddle available currently on the market. So those are my top 5 picks for the best power paddles on the market. I think honestly all 9 of these paddles are very good, very high performing paddles that I could say you could easily play with. However, the top 5 in my personal opinion are just better overall performers or better performers in that offensive firepower category. If you have a different opinion, let me know what you think is the best power paddle on the market. Hope you enjoyed this review. Until the next one, I'm Lewis with Pickleball Pursuit, and I'll see you guys soon.